Oh, come on. What's
Oh,
going on, bud?
what's up?
Welcome to another episode of Tailgate Trash Talk, episode number 5. I'm Big Stove alongside Mr. Gary Freeze. Gary, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm good, man. Good, refreshed. Ready to roll. Another week of college football to discuss.
Another week, and it started tonight. Have you been watching the Shanties?
Tonight. Yeah, buddy.
Our boy Grayson Mullet McColl balling out right now. They jumped out to a 14-point lead, and then App State got on the board, and then some little tomfoolery onside kick got it and tied
They're
up.
Feisty, man.
They are
feisty. App State is feisty. They're not going to run away.
Nope. For sure. And it's at Boone, up there in Boone, North Carolina. So good ball game on our hands right there. But tied 14-14. The Shanties.
Shanties just got a field goal.
Oh, they just got a field goal. Yep. Sorry, we would put it out on our screen, but previous episodes have
cunts don't like that.
Yes, they do not like us airing their stuff while we are podcasting, so we apologize, but we will keep you guys updated as we go along. So without further ado, good evening, good morning, whenever the fuck you're listening. This is another episode of Tailgate Trash Talk. Episode 5, Big Stove, Gary Freeze. Let's jump right into it, and let's recap last week's games. Last week, we had some games there. Oh, that's my fault, bud. But the games that we were highlighting were the UCF-Cincinnati game, and that game for us was one of those games where we bring it up every week, and it's one of those don't get tripped up games for Cincy. UCF isn't what they have been in years past. They're down right now. Their starting quarterback is out with an injury. Don't know when he's going to be back. And it was one of those games where, if Cincinnati didn't put it together and didn't stay focused, they could get tripped up there by UCF. But they were highly favored in that game, and they won big time in that one.
Yeah, they delivered. We talked about it last week, and this is going to be true for the rest of the season for them because of who they're playing the rest of the way. They've got to win with style, right? And it's not fair to have to say that, but in the eyes of the committee, the Power Five is the Power Five, right? And there's no changing that. And in the committee's defense, like the competition is stiffer, right? So a team like Cincinnati, who's got aspirations to be the first non-Power 5 team to get into the playoffs, and you and I have both talked about, how we have felt about their chances, and that win against Notre Dame was, the propellant for that. But they have to win with style going forward, and they did that against UCF. They took care of business, right? For them, taking care of business the rest of the way is winning by 3-4 touchdowns, right? It's just the truth of the matter in the conference that they're in, the level of the caliber of team that they are versus the caliber of teams that they're going to be playing. They're going to have to win like this. And they did that, right? That's stepping stone number 1. They beat a UCF team that has a reputation. They're not what they've been in the past, but they took care of business. Now do it again this week. And I think they've got 4 games left or 3 games left on their schedule. Got to do that the rest of the way, including the AAC championship, where we've seen some schools in the past get tripped up in those conference title games.
Exactly. So going back to it real quick, I got some scores here for you. Oregon 24, California 17. We picked that one a little bit closer than we anticipated, but nonetheless, Oregon won. Next one, San Diego State. They were only 8-point favorite. And this one went into double overtime. Yeah. San Diego State won 19-13. This was a late game on Friday night. Man, that did not get over till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Man.
This is one of those games that my brother and I joke about it all the time. There's the games that get played that you look at it and you're like, why is San Diego State only an 8-point favorite? Right. Yeah. But Vegas fucking knows.
Vegas knows something.
Vegas fucking knows. Whatever they do there, they fucking know. They always seem to have like these trap games for bettors, man. You're like, fuck, San Diego State's way better than San Diego State.
Way better, yeah.
And they are, like, talent-wise, record-wise, the way they've played this year. That should have been a bit of a boat race, in my opinion. But Vegas set the line at 8, and they won by fucking 6.
Yep. Yeah. In double overtime.
Like, they legitimately had a chance to lose fucking outright.
Yep. Exactly.
Vegas knows, man.
Yeah.
They know what you did last summer, and they know what's going to happen this weekend.
They know it all. Oh, speaking of UCF and Cincinnati, that game was 56-21. Moving on, we had Michigan State, Indiana, Michigan State 20 over Indiana 15. That game was a little bit closer as well.
They got tested.
And look what we see there. Okay, Michigan State rated number 10, 6-0, going up at Indiana 2-3, -4.5, and they won by 5. They win by 5.
Vegas is unreal.
Then you had Oklahoma State, Texas. Texas was favored in this one by 5.5.
They got out early too.
My boy, Van Gundy, baby.
Yeah, I'm a man.
Oh, Auburn, Arkansas. Arkansas was 3.5-point favorites, and they go down 38-23. A little bit of a shocker here. I thought my Sioux Piggies were going to get the job done, bounce back. Auburn, man, they're Bo Nix. They're rallying behind Bo Nix here, and
Auburn's a bit of an enigma right now. Like,
yeah,
I don't think teams want to play them the rest of the season. Like, they are suddenly playing good football.
It's crazy. You just don't know what Auburn team you're going to get.
You don't, but you don't want to play the good one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind
of
like,
looks like they're the good Auburn right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like me in Nebraska. You don't know which Nebraska team you're going to get for that game, and you with Washington.
Yeah, I know what team I'm getting.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, Florida LSU. Florida 10-point favorites. And this one was a shootout, back and forth game all day long. 49-42 LSU. Ed Oregon saved his job. So we thought. And then all of a sudden the next day he's out at the end of the season.
I literally picked LSU last week because I said it was a save Coach O's job game.
It was, exactly.
And it still didn't save his job. Woo. Yeah, I don't know what's going on down there. Apparently that national championship didn't buy him the equity that, at least I thought it did. One down season and they're okay this year. I get that, but Jesus Christ, you won a national title 2 years ago, man. It's fucking brutal out there in the SEC.
Yeah. And, a lot of reports coming out on just off the field behavior and players not, lost the players and everything like that. So apparently mutual decision, probably not, but a huge payout for Mr. Eddie down there with almost
probably went to him
million.
And said, how much can we pay you to walk away quietly and let's just part ways? And
yeah,
Ed said, that's enough.
Probably
I'd walk away for a fifth of that.
No kidding. No kidding. Dang. Oh, well, and Florida just has gone downhill since the Alabama game.
Not recovered from that Alabama game.
No. Now they did make the quarterback change midway through there, and I think you saw some upside for them. I'm sure Florida fans are hoping that they stay with that QB switch moving forward. I think he's going to be their best asset, an option going forward, and especially with a bye week this week. And who do you have next week? Georgia.
You got the bye week to get ready, at least.
They need a bye week to get ready on that defensive line. Because
Oh
if
my
you let
God.
someone rush for 287 yards, you all need to go back to the workshop and get something done.
Yeah.
Like people need to step up big time.
Yeah.
That's
Heading to the
crazy.
hedges is not what you want to do when your defense does that.
No,
Georgia will
definitely.
run it right down your fucking throat.
Man. But moving on, Texas A&M, Missouri A&M, 8.5-point favorite. They won handily, 35-14. Kentucky, Georgia was one that we had picked. I picked the upset here. Georgia was a 23.5-point favorite, and they did not cover.
No,
So
they won by like 19 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 30-13.
Or
So 17 points there. Kentucky, they were winning by that, and then Kentucky got a last couple minute tud there, put them up over there.
Yeah.
But Bob Stoops has definitely got that team heading in the right direction, and you mentioned it too last week. But Georgia's just another team on another level right now.
It's them and Bama, and the more I watch Georgia, the more, if I'm a Bama fan, I'm a little worried this year. Coming into the season, it was Bama and Georgia. Now it feels like right now it's Georgia and Bama. And you've got to beat Georgia to, in my opinion, you've got to beat Georgia to lock up a playoff spot. Now, if it's a tight game, playoff committee might lean toward Bama in the 4 slot, but you've got to beat Georgia to secure that up, and then you're probably going to see them again. Honestly, I think unless they play in the first round of the playoff, they're probably going to play in the championship game. I just think they're head and shoulders, like those two teams feel different than the rest of NCAA right now. And I don't want to take anything away from like Cincinnati. Cincinnati's playing really well, but the fucking athletes that are going to be on the field for Bama and Georgia,
exactly.
It's next level shit, man. Like those two teams feel like NFL teams.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Moving on, this was another one that we did not circle, but we did talk about it a little bit. Iowa was 11.5-point favorite at home to Purdue. But what did we say? Look out for Purdue. Jeff Brom, I believe, is the coach there.
Mm-hmm.
And he has won 4 out of the last 5 games.
Yep.
And what did he do? He went to Iowa and put on a show. Purdue comes out of there, the Boilermakers, 24-7.
Good grief.
And we talked about it last night on the Blitz. The internet is just straight savage. Did you see the tweet that
I didn't catch the tweet.
So Purdue put out a tweet saying we kicked the number 2 out of them.
Ah, yes. The internet remains.
The internet remains undefeated. Exactly.
Iowa does not. But the
not
internet
anymore.
Does.
Yep.
That's awesome.
It pretty good there. BYU over Baylor, playing Baylor. Yeah. And Baylor was 6-point favorites. I picked Baylor. I can't remember who you picked on this one.
I went with Baylor too.
Okay, and we came out victorious with that one, 38-24 Baylor over the Cougs of BYU. No, not a surprise here. Alabama, Mississippi State. Alabama, 17-point favorites. And we said last week, we do not want to be the team playing Alabama following a loss.
No.
And we said 17-point favorites was not enough. It needed to be 30 or 35-point favorites. 49-9, Alabama over Mississippi State.
35 wasn't even enough. Yeah. You don't want to play Bama after a loss.
What about that, Vegas? Huh?
Yeah.
What about that? TCU, Oklahoma. Oklahoma was 11.5-point favorite, and this one, it was 52-31 Oklahoma, and this was one that we touched base on a little bit. We didn't circle it, but it was one of those games where we talked about who the starting quarterback would be and how we based our picks based off of who was at quarterback. And they went with the freshman, rightfully so. And look what happened.
He proved him right.
He proved him right. And now he's in talk with some other Heisman candidates already. One game into the season. One game as a starter. Played basically a game and a half so far, and he's already, I'm going to say, probably 5th or 6th right now as for betting odds.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Crazy. But
I look, 5 total tutties, no turnovers. I mean, Rattler was clearly the problem for that team so far this season. Not to toot my own horn too much, but your boy,
let's toot it.
Your boy was on Facebook week in and week out telling everybody how much trash Spencer Rattler was. He's a fucking garbage can with a jersey. And I think this weekend proves it, right? If last weekend with the comeback wasn't enough, this weekend proves it, right? 5 tuds, no turnovers, in the same offense that Spencer Rattler's been running.
Same offense.
The NFL GMs, fucking be warned. You're going to fuck up if you draft that guy. You draft him before the 3rd round, you fucked up.
I truly think that he's going to be going somewhere else after this year. He's going to be entering the transfer. Yeah, because he's got to go somewhere to start again if he wants to get his draft stock back up.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the season, like you said, everyone was high on him. They put him in the Heisman finalist candidacy, everything like that. And we're sitting here like, he's not that good.
Yeah.
Like literally, we were saying it week in and week out. He's not that good. And it's been proven so far throughout the season. And Lincoln Riley made the switch to go with the true freshman here, and it's paying dividends for him.
Yeah, Link's a little bit fortunate. He made the move at what seems to be just the right time to avoid ruining their playoff hopes. Because I think the Big 12 only gets a team in the playoffs if they're undefeated this year.
Yeah,
I think a 1-loss Michigan or a 1-loss Ohio State gets in over a 1-loss Big 12 team. And it could be Oklahoma, right? It could be Oklahoma who loses, and that's the only game they lose. I still take a Big 10 1-loss team if I'm the committee over a 1-loss Oklahoma. So making that move in that Texas game and being able to make that comeback really salvaged any hope that they have to make the playoff.
Exactly. Yeah, totally with you right there. Moving on, game that we had circled: Ole Miss, Tennessee, Mississippi.
The homecoming
favorites. A homecoming for Lane Kiffin. 31-26 Ole Miss on a great game that everyone has talked about since. That was marred by the stupidity of Tennessee fans.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying not everyone did not partake in it. It's select few, maybe a couple hundred, couple thousand fans there.
But that mars.
That's everybody. That's a stain on that game. And it was a great game leading up to it. And with 50, I think it was like 50 some seconds left, 51, 53 seconds left in the game. All that shit goes down and the game stops for 20 minutes because of it.
Finish the last minute of the game.
Yeah. Stupid. Just there's no room in any sport for that kind of stuff.
I'll never understand that, right, with sports fans, right? And understand this, right? I'm maybe one of the most passionate sports fans. Like I literally I scream at my TV. I get yelled at all the time for it. My wife, my mom, nobody can stand it that I get that passionate about a fucking football game, right? But I do for baseball, I do for football, and I'm just it's the competitive spirit in me. But also I'm very passionate about, sports in general. And I still do not understand how it gets to that point, right? Throwing batteries at people and, calling names and stuff, like names to a certain extent, sure. But then like talking about family and the death threats thing is crazy to me, that people mail death threats to their to a player that fucks up in a game. Like, good fucking grief, man. Get real with this shit.
Exactly.
I just don't want to be passionate, be very emotional if you want, but like that's too much. Anything close to that is too much. I'll never be able to reconcile that in my head, how it goes from I'm passionate about this game, I'm passionate about my team, to like I'm gonna kill your fucking family, right? Like what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. I don't know if it's, little man syndrome, like that makes you feel like bigger of a man or something like that. I just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
Gary
never
Freese,
understand.
yeah, no need for that kind of action for sure. Yeah,
Sure.
right there with you.
He knows I get passionate as fuck watching games, but it ain't that, right? Like it ain't that.
Yeah,
Ugh.
and you brought up batteries and everything like that. It reminded me because we really haven't seen that type of behavior from a college atmosphere in a long time.
I can't even
I really
remember.
can't pinpoint any game in that I can really recall off the top of my head. But one game in particular that stands out for me, being a Nebraska fan, is always going to Nebraska whenever they go to Colorado. Colorado fans are one of the worst fan bases for opposing teams.
They're that
They
bad.
very much so, yes. And it was, I want to say it was the 2001 season. And I think it was right. It was between 97 and 2000, 2001. But Nebraska was playing at Colorado, and their fans, it had snowed. And that was the great part of that rivalry too, was if you go to Colorado and it snowed, that type of atmosphere. But their fans were throwing snowballs with batteries in them.
Yeah.
At Husker fans, at Husker players, and everything like that, in the parking lot, tailgating, and this and that. I mean, just there's no need for that. No need for that whatsoever. Not in the college sport, not anywhere. And it stinks that a great game that we had there, the homecoming game for Lane Kiffin, that black stain is really what everyone's talking about right now. They're not talking about the game. They're talking about the fans and what happened. And to only get $100,000 fine.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's chump change to these SEC schools. It's chump change. Like it almost needs to go to the fact, almost to Major League Soccer. When they start chanting the anti-derogatory remarks at players or whatever, they're banned for a game. Like the whole stadium, your next home game, you don't have fans in the stands. Like it almost needs to be to that effect. That punishment needs to go to that effect.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I just don't get it. And I understand Lane Kiffin's departure from Tennessee was pretty unceremonious, but still, man, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. All right, we'll get off our soapbox on that issue. It needed to be said. And everyone's talking about it, so, it's Wednesday, hump day. We'll get over it and move on. NC State, Boston College. NC State, 3.5-point favorites. NC State took it to the woodshed here.
Yeah.
33-7 over Boston College. And then Arizona State, Utah. Arizona, 1-point favorite. Well, Vegas, yes. You proved everyone wrong here. Utah, 35-21 over Herm Edwards and the Sun Devils. Can't believe that one. I really can't. Utah was, what were they? They were 3-2. 3-2. They hadn't been playing that good, and they were playing at home, so they had that going for them. But, man, I thought Herm and the Devils there, they were on the right track, and that was one of those no-brainers, But
yeah, for sure. I was with you. The fighting Herms, I had them beating Utah, but it's tough to play in Salt Lake.
Yeah. Corey, what's up with Ogeron? Well, he's out, and we talked about it last week that, LSU needed to win this game to save his job. And what they do, they went out and won, and he still lost his job.
Didn't save his job.
Didn't save his job one bit. And lots of reports coming out of there that he's lost the players. Players don't want to play for him. They don't like him. A bunch of off the field issues with just how he's gone about everything since winning the Natty. The public divorce from his wife of 23 years. And then just ever since then, just pretty much downhill with his personal life and stuff like that. So be interesting to see how LSU does play out the rest of the season, knowing that he's gone after the season and they'll have a new coach. Be interesting to see how the recruiting trail plays a factor in this as well. So I'm pretty sure he's sober. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, all right. That was a recap of Week 7 college football. So let's highlight some Week 8 games here. We got Coastal Carolina, App State tonight. That game is at halftime. I believe the Shanties kicked a field goal before the half, so they are up 20-14 right now. Undefeated season on the line for the Shanties in Boone, North Carolina, Appalachian State. We obviously, Gary and I both pick the Shanties on this one. We are big Shanty fans right now. And Mr. Mullet has been in our Heisman stock report for a couple weeks now. So let's see how he can stay on track during this game. Tomorrow night, Tulane, SMU 13.5 point favorites. Gary, who are you taking?
Yeah, I got SMU. I don't think Tulane's a very good team. 13.5 feels sort of small.
Sort of small for against.
I mean, it's 2 tutties, so maybe that's the right spread. But SMU should roll.
I'm with you on that one. Saturday, South Carolina, Texas A&M. A&M 21-point favorites over the Gamecocks at Texas A&M. Unfortunately, living here in South Carolina, I'm seeing all the Twitter feeds and threads and everything else like that. I do like Beamer Ball. I like him personally. I think he has that program going in the right direction. It will take some time, but yes, A&M on this one.
Yeah, South Carolina's not there yet.
Nope. Cincy, Navy, the triple option. Cincy 27.5 point favorites. Cincy.
You gonna yell at me for not picking Navy?
No, not this week. No. If it was a closer game, then maybe.
Yeah, give me Cincy. They should roll. Again, got to win with style. So
exactly.
27.5 feels about right.
Yep. Oklahoma, Kansas, 38.5 point favorites. My wife is a big Jayhawk fan, but for basketball, and this is one where 38.5 point favorite. Man, oh man.
Yeah. Rock Chalk, not this week.
Not up in here. Not up in here. Northwestern, Michigan, 23.5 point favorite there.
That feels big.
That does feel big. Again, especially, I know it's at home.
Fitzgerald's boys.
Fitzgerald, though.
Scrappy, I mean, man.
Yes, scrappy. They are. I'm going Northwestern here.
You going upset?
Yes.
I'm
you,
Michigan. Yeah, I'm Michigan, but I feel like this is going to be a tighter game. They're not getting out of this game with a win easily. It might be a 1-score game, honestly, but Fitzgerald's boys. They play tough. They're scrappy.
Yeah,
it's not going to be easy.
No, down year for him for sure. His boys usually always come ready to play. Yeah. So I'm going Northwestern. You're going Michigan, but a closer game.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I don't think you're that far out of pocket to pick Northwestern in that game. I'll go as far as to say that. I think it's going to be a tight game, and I certainly don't think you're crazy picking Northwestern in that.
Hey, I appreciate it, but I've done crazier things already, in these few weeks that we've been doing the podcast, and I like to keep it that way, keep the body guessing, and maybe one of these weeks I'll hit that parlay for big money, and you'll never see me again. So
there you go.
We shall see.
We'll have to visit you in Fiji.
That's right. San Diego State Air Force. Air Force, 3.5-point favorites at home against the Aztecs. I like it. I like where Vegas is at here. That triple option with Air Force.
Yeah.
I'm going Air Force.
I'm going Air Force too, man.
Okay.
I know SDSU is undefeated. I know that they're ranked, but that triple option is tough. And Navy's down this year. They don't have quite the athletes they've had in the past, but Air Force has got athletes on that offense, and they might be able to upset SDSU. Yeah, that'd be a dream scenario.
That would be. I think the program.
And then the winner plays Johnny Utah and the replacements, the Washington Sentinels.
Washington Sentinels. I'm trying to think here. I'm trying to think who I would take. I would, depending on what team here, Corey. Depending on what team. So Corey says, I want to see the team from the program take on the team from necessary roughness. So, caveat here. Which program team? Is it the team that you had at the end of the season, that last game, or the team that you had to begin the season with for the program?
That's tough.
That makes a big difference right there, Corey.
There's a lot of talent on that early season team.
Exactly. All right. Moving on. UTSA, Louisiana Tech. UTSA 7-point favorites. 7-0 going against 2-4. What does Vegas know here that we do not know?
I think Vegas knows that UTSA is ranked for the first time in program history.
So they're going to shit the bed.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of we've seen teams sneak into the bottom of the top 25, and then they lay an egg. They're probably ranked by kind of the attrition for everybody else. But yeah, I suggested we highlight this game only really because they're ranked for the first time in program history, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Otherwise, Vegas is probably right. This entire conference, they beat each other up quite a bit. Nobody's safe in that conference, so 7 seems probably good. It's probably going to be a tight game. La Tech at home, especially, could very well knock off UTSA, and their reign amongst the ranked won't last very long, potentially.
So I never got a true decision from you on that. I heard a lot of waffling.
I'm going to go UTSA, though. That conference, they do beat each other up, but give me UTSA probably in a field goal game.
All right. I'm going to go with La Tech.
All right. I like it.
I'm going the upset.
I like it.
Get Ohio State.
Top 25.
Yeah. You're only going to be there for 1 week, so don't get used to it. Ohio State, Indiana, at Indiana, OSU, 20-point favorites.
Yeah.
Indiana gave – who'd they play last week? Gave Michigan State.
All they could handle.
Yep. Lost by 5. Do they have the energy to do that again against Ohio State and that high-scoring offense?
Yeah.
I'm going to say no. Not this week. Not this week. Ohio State for me.
I'm with you. Ohio State's offense is clicking. They've really got it going. Stroud looks like the guy that, was an early season kind of surprise Heisman candidate that people were pushing up pretty quickly. And then he had that 1 week that he missed with the injury. He's starting to remind people why he's in the Heisman race.
Yep.
That offense looks pretty damn good right now.
Yeah.
And the defense is starting to come around too. They've got a lot of athletes that are really young on defense.
They're young.
They've lost a ton of talent to the NFL over the last 3 years, but they are starting to come around as well.
Yep. USC, Notre Dame, 7-point favorites at home. Yeah. Who you got on this one, Gary? No head coach. They have no head coach. It's interim.
Yeah. Big rivalry game, though.
Huge.
So, there's that motivation. Brian Kelly may be distracted by something we're going to talk about later, possibly.
Oh.
But I think I'm going to stick with Notre Dame. I think that defense, with the amount of talent there is on that defense, USC is going to find it hard to score, and I think Notre Dame's going to be able to just kind of squat on the game a little bit. Probably a tight game, maybe a one-score game. The line's 7, I believe, so that sounds about right. Give me Notre Dame, maybe in a lower scoring game, maybe something like 23-16, something like that.
I'm with you. I'm going Notre Dame on this one as well. Passing game, I don't think is going to be there. It really hasn't been there this whole year. Defense is going to keep them in the game. If they can get that rushing game going, then for sure Notre Dame. I'm going to go Notre Dame by 10 on this one at home.
Nice. Yeah. You get that extra field goal at home.
Exactly. NC State, Miami. NC State 3-point favorites. I like the Wolfpack in this one. I do. Miami, I don't know what they got going on down there. I really don't. But
yeah, they've got some talent on that team, and they were kind of a popular pick in the ACC this year to contend with Clemson and North Carolina, who, all three of those teams have really shit the bed. But I'm going Miami in this one, in Coral Gables.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go Miami, upsetting the Wolfpack. I've got a little bit of a soft spot for the Wolfpack, though. I like Rivers when Rivers was there, Russell Wilson before he transferred to Wisconsin. And I don't know what it is about NC State. There's just something, a little bit of a soft spot. But unfortunately, I'm going Miami this one.
All right. All righty. Illinois, Penn State. Penn State coming out after a bye, 23.5-point favorites at home. I got Penn State, especially with Brett Bielema, however you pronounce his last name, coming out and just saying that his team fucking stinks. He doesn't have players. They stink.
Not good, man.
Not good at all. Yeah. Come on. You don't do that. You don't do that. You say that we need to get better, but saying that you have no players whatsoever, that whatever, bud. Whatever. Get out of here with that.
Yeah, you can't do that shit. And, Penn State coming off a bye, too. I think they're going to really rally after the loss to Iowa. Tough loss. They probably feel like they should have won that game. So this is another one that you probably don't want to be Illinois this week. One, your coach is telling you suck. And two, you're playing a motivated Penn State team that, has to win out. If they're going to have a chance to get in the playoffs, they – obviously when you're undefeated, you're rolling good. But once you get that first loss, you kind of need some breaks to roll your way. But you absolutely have to run the table. So
and you're going to need some style points there as well.
Yeah, especially against an Illinois team, right?
Yep.
So I'm the king of the waffle maker, baby.
Oh yeah.
I like to argue against myself sometimes. All right.
Wake Forest, Army. Wake Forest 3-point favorite over Army. I'm going Army with this one. I'm going Army.
I'm with you. I think the respect for that triple option is, one, what set the line so low, and two, what's going to swing me to Army. I think they're going to be able to control the clock, control the tempo, keep that Wake Forest offense off the field, keep the defense guessing. That triple option is so tough to defend.
Yep.
And so few teams run it nowadays.
So few teams run it now, yeah.
It's the military academies, and then like Colorado State was for a while. So yeah, it's really tough to defend.
Yep. Wisconsin, Purdue. Wisconsin 3-point favorites against Purdue at home for Purdue. I'm going Wisconsin on this one too. Purdue's coming off that victory over Iowa. I just don't see it happening here. I think they have a lull. Wisconsin's gonna going to win this one.
Sometimes it's so hard to shake off a big win like that,
Yeah.
right? You get hungover. Um, you know, you can't shut it off, right? You're still celebrating on Friday that you won against Iowa last Saturday, and suddenly you've got a game against a team that's potentially going to punch you in the mouth, right? Wisconsin's physical. They've got a really good defense. They've struggled a bit at times this year. I'm with you. I got another top 25 team going down this week, Wisconsin.
Corey Yeoman, you got to pick one armed forces team. I wonder if the Marines had a team, would they ever get beat?
The Marines do have a team. They all go to the same Naval Academy. The Marines go to the Naval Academy, so they play on the Naval team. They just don't have, like, the Marines is not technically like a branch of them. I know a lot of, like, this isn't common knowledge for people, so like not to try to like poo-poo anybody's comment about the Marines. Like, they're not a branch of the military. They're actually part of the Department of Navy.
Nope.
Perfect response. But yeah, the Marine candidates do play for the Naval Academy.
I did not know that, so thank you for educating me there.
Yeah.
Did not know that. Thank you.
Yep.
Oklahoma State, Iowa State. Iowa State, 7-point favorites. Give Oklahoma some respect here, Vegas. They're the 8th ranked team, and he's a real man. Come on. Like, where's the respect for the Cowboys? Like, get out of here with that. That's some trash talk right there. That's some downright tailgate trash talk right there. Vegas?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is
No. Oklahoma State.
Yeah. You going Pokes?
Fuck yeah.
I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Mike Gundy, he's got him playing well. Early in the season, I was, admittedly not a buyer. I had picked Baylor over them. I believe you picked Oklahoma State over Baylor. You got that one over on me. And I'm starting to buy into what Gundy's selling. The Pokes are playing well. Let's roll, baby.
Let's do it. And for everyone that's wanting to know an update on the Shanties, Appalachian State scored a tutty, 21-20 in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Come on now. Come on.
They are not going to go away quietly.
No. Oregon, 5-1, number 10 team, up against UCLA, 5-2. UCLA, 2-point favorite.
Another top 10 team that's
another top 10 team that is getting bashed by Vegas.
Bullied by Vegas.
What is going on down there? Screw Vegas. If you want the pick, go with Oregon, because that's who's going to win this game. Mario Cristobal has got that team going, and he's the man. He's the man that's going to get the job done. Oregon Ducks over the Bruins.
Yeah, I was buying on UCLA early in the season. Yeah, for sure. They got
Corey. It seems like Vegas has an active Future Sports Almanac.
They definitely fucking do.
No
Something
kidding.
going on there.
Touche.
Yeah, for sure. McFly. But yeah, I was a buyer on UCLA early in the season. I do like what Oregon is doing. I do like what Mario Cristobal has done up there. In the wake of, the program was so high with Chip Kelly. They sustained it for a couple of years, and then obviously there's the drop off with, and they had a bad coaching hire. So I get that can really crater a program. I think they're back on the right track. Obviously they've gotten the respect of the voters. Give me Oregon.
Just not Vegas.
Give me Oregon, but UCLA is dangerous, and Chip Kelly's got that team going in the right direction. But give me Oregon in this one. I don't love the pick. I'm not going to waffle, though.
Good. We don't like wafflers. LSU, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, 9.5-point favorites. Yeah, I'm going Ole Miss on this one. LSU, just because Orgeron's gone, they don't have anything to play for here.
Yeah, I'm going Ole Miss big, man. 9.5 is not nearly enough. Give me Ole Miss by 3 tutties, maybe 4. The news of Orgeron leaving, the only thing these players really have to play for is the next coach. And in college, you're a scholarship athlete. You're there.
You're getting paid now, so you can
get paid now. So, yeah, I mean, Ole Miss, I think they're going to roll it up. And this might be the game where Matt Corral starts to put his stamp on.
It up.
Yeah, he starts to put his stamp on what the end of the season is going to look like in terms of his Heisman candidacy.
Yep. Now that D line, though, they better get prepared because can't be having that running back run for 287 yards against you here. So let's do some tackling drills in practice this week, boys. Clemson, Pittsburgh. Clemson going to Pitt. Pitt 3-point favorites. Yeah, because you want to know why? 2 words. Kenny Pickett.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, this is a game, again, another one that I wanted to highlight for a specific reason. And it's not because I think this is he really does, man. Go Tigers. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. But, I wanted to highlight this for a specific reason. I thought it was something we could talk a little bit about Kenny Pickett, right? You've had him in your Heisman top 5 right along, for the last, 2 weeks, I believe?
2 weeks, I think, yeah.
So, obviously he's on your radar. I've said he's been on my radar. I just haven't propelled him into that top 5. But this is a game against Clemson. For all the problems they've had on offense, that defense is still real.
Yes.
So for him, this is a prove it game for Heisman voters. He goes out, lights up the scoreboard a bit, engineers a good win for them. This is a game that could really propel him into national spotlight for Heisman.
Yep. Totally agree there. Totally agree. So you going Pitt as well?
I'm with you.
All righty. I like it. Tennessee, Alabama. Tennessee at Alabama. Alabama 25-point favorites. Yeah, I'm going Alabama on this one. Tennessee still going to be getting talked about with everything that happened from a week ago. I don't see him bouncing back against Alabama here.
Yeah. Nah, give me Bama big. The rest of the season, essentially, until they face Georgia, Saban's going to have them fucking dogs eating, man. Get out of the way when the elephant stampede comes to town. Bama big over Tennessee. Tennessee just doesn't have the horses. I like where their program is headed in terms of, they look like they're making some strides, but not this week.
Yep, not this week. All right, that wraps up the top 25 preview for week 8. We have our picks, and the games we highlight were UTSA, La Tech, USC, Notre Dame, Oregon, UCLA, Clemson, Pitt. And our picks are in. Happy gambling for you, and hope you'd win well. And just remember us when you win. So
yeah, I'm not paying your bill when you lose.
That's right. All right. Well, let's take a quick 1-minute break from our sponsors here, and we'll get back to it. Our sponsors, thank you, Pocket Pair Club, pocketpairclub.com, club number 26881, pocketpairclub.com. That music just kind of makes you want to gamble. I mean, I don't know what it is.
Man, it's so perfect. That's the casino ambiance.
Right, buddy. That's right. Corey Yeoman, top 5 QBs taken in this year's draft right now. Doesn't seem like a good class for QBs to me.
It's gonna depend too
Yeah.
on some of the underclassmen who does come out. Guys like Ritter and Corral, and some of the underclassmen are they gonna, is Corral's a junior, right?
Corral's a junior.
Yeah.
Ritter's a senior.
Yeah. So
My
those
you
two I
have
think will be near the top of the draft board.
you got Kenny Pickett.
Pickett will be eligible.
Jake Hayner from Fresno State.
Yeah.
Which
I do think Corey's not really off the mark too much with that though.
No.
Like, it does seem like the last three draft classes we had a quarterback heavy in the top of the draft, and this year especially with Rattler falling off the map, everybody had him as the consensus #1 pick entering the season. That throws a wrench in everybody's plan.
Yeah.
And we may end up with somebody who gets drafted too high, as the #1 pick, because normally that's a team that needs a quarterback, right? So unless the Jaguars end up with the #1 pick, you might have a guy going too high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nope. But no, Corey's definitely not off it at all here. This year's class of QBs definitely not like years past where you have a good bunch of QBs that could go first round. Definitely not like last year.
Somebody's going to go to the combine and throw a football through a donut hole, and everybody's going to fall in love with them. But I think on the field, you're right. There's just, to me, it's like Ritter, and I don't know how NFL coaches feel or GMs feel about him. I think he's got decent size. He's a little slight, but I like his moxie. I like that he's a dual threat guy. But our NFL coach is going to fall in love with that for him. A lot of 3rd and 4th rounders. And to be honest, at the quarterback position, there's not a huge difference between the guys that go in the 1st and those guys that go in the 3rd and 4th. Those guys in the 3rd and 4th,
paycheck.
The paycheck is a big difference, right?
Big
but
difference.
I mean, talent-wise, there's typically not a huge disparity between those first round guys and the 3rd and 4th round guys. The 3rd and 4th round guys are guys that coaches draft that they're one of two things. They're either my backup for the next 4 to 10 years, or they're a guy I think I can groom into a starter. And we've seen guys like Dak and Russell Wilson and Cousins and
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers went late in the first.
Yeah, he's bad.
I mean, he should have been a fucking top 1 pick. But
yeah,
Tom Brady went in the 6th, right? And Corey said, "Fuck Tom Brady," but he went in the 6th. So, those guys in those middle rounds, they fit one of two molds, and some of those guys develop into starting quarterbacks, and we get a handful of them in the league right now.
Yeah.
Well, you usually in the 3rd and 4th round too, you usually go to a team that's got a better infrastructure in place.
Yeah.
Right. Teams that are drafting quarterbacks in the 1st round, with few exceptions, right? Rodgers to the Packers, Lamar Jackson to the Ravens. Normally, those teams don't have great infrastructure in place, so you almost don't, like, for the health of your long-term career, often you don't want to be a 1st round pick, especially not #1 overall.
Haskins to the Redskins.
Right, exactly. Terrible infrastructure. You had a lame duck coach. You had a GM that was fucking hemorrhaging fucking talent there, and obviously talking with Gruden about fucking crazy shit too.
Yeah.
But you had a lame duck coach mainly. Like, why would you take a 1st round quarterback when you got a coach who's on the last year of his contract and you've indicated you're not going to extend him? What the fuck?
Yep.
Yeah. Bad infrastructure usually with them 1st round quarterbacks. Yeah, I know, man.
Sure.
The draft is exciting when you're finding out where a quarterback's going. But you might see a lot less misses in a draft that doesn't have a lot of 1st round quarterbacks. Maybe there's some positive there.
All right, let's get to our next segment, and it's the most important one, the Salute to Service, brought to you by Folds of Honor, foldsofhonor.org. This is our Folds of Honor Salute to Service.
All right, so this week, I wanted to change it up a little bit and do something more, maybe not more, right, but different than what we normally do. So normally we dedicate an episode to a specific sailor or soldier or airman or Marine or, you know, a group of them. You know, sometimes it's like Raul highlighted last night, 5 Navy sailors, you know, recovered from a helicopter crash. But I wanted to pause for a minute and take a look at the scope of the sacrifices that have been made since, you know, essentially since 9/11, right? You know, the operations, the Military Times highlights these operations: Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, New Dawn, and a few that supported those bigger operations. And essentially, those are the operations since 9/11. The numbers are so stark, and for a 20-year kind of protracted engagement in the Middle East, in, you know, South Asia, you know, with Afghanistan. I thought I'd take a moment to talk about some of the numbers. So fallen soldiers in the Army since 9/11, 5,069 soldiers have perished, either in combat or supporting combat through training, but essentially 5,069 deaths in the last 20-ish years. The Marine Corps, nearly 1,500, 1,487. Navy, 241. Air Force, 216. And of course, Coast Guard, they don't go into the teeth of battle, but they serve a function no less. But they've had a single death in the line of duty. But certainly no less important to highlight. Another thing that I wanted to highlight is the age, and we talk about this, right? You know, these children sometimes are taken way too early. 18 to 22, which of course you can join the military at 18, and you know that population segment is fairly high in the military, but 18 to 22 is 2,500 deaths. 23 to 28 is 2,449. Just unbelievable the number of deaths within those age ranges. So for all of these soldiers, all of these sailors, all of these airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard, and all of these young lives, especially taken way too soon, to all of you, this episode goes out till Valhalla. We have the watch.
I like where you went tonight with it. Very good.
Appreciate
Very
it.
good. That's crazy. Over
The
5,000.
numbers, man. I saw that, and I mean, it sparked the idea in my head when I was looking at it. But Jesus Christ.
Well, and is that a high number or is that a low number? Like for 20 years, like only 5,000, but still it's like 5,000, you know, like you can look at it 2 different ways, and I mean, one life is too many, you know. But no, appreciate everything that every military man and woman have done, and their families as well.
Absolutely.
In the 20 years, in the years before, and in the years ahead. So, and again, you know, it's the most important segment that we have, and it's the hardest transition. Going for it. Corey Yeoman, crazy to think that 5,069 in 20 years compared to all previous conflicts. Silver lining is that technology had kept them so much safer. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Definitely. All right. Well, it's time for that time again. It's your weekly Heisman stock report with the Tailgate Trash Talk crew. Gary, number 5 for both of us here. I got CJ Stroud. You got Grayson Mullet McCall. He's balling out tonight. They just went up a tutty here. They scored, so it's now 27-21. The Shanties. He moved down for you though from last week. What
He did.
gives? What gives?
It's nothing that it's nothing with him. I moved a couple of things around because some guys are starting to really assert themselves. That is a good corral.
Love it.
But yeah, I felt bad moving him down, but
yeah, he's playing tonight too. So that's shame on you right there, bud.
I'll leave the pro on that.
Yep. It's. I mean, like you said, some other. Can you put other players playing better than him? I mean, the dude went 13 for 13, 100% completion percentage, and then went lights out again. Like he's got like one of the most efficient passer ratings right now. Like it's ridiculous. They were talking about tonight during the game.
He's unreal. Efficiency wise.
At least he's been on our Heisman stock report consistently here now for about 3 to 4 weeks. Yep. He's not getting the love elsewhere. So we love you. We love you, Grayson.
Absolutely.
Number 4, you have CJ Stroud, and Kenny Pickett stayed the same for me. With a bye week, I'm not moving him up or down, but you have CJ Stroud. I have CJ Stroud at number 5. You have him at number 4.
Yeah, this is the guy I was saying, like he's hitting his stride. That Ohio State offense is hitting their stride. Again, moving McCall down was nothing against him. It was more, propping up CJ Stroud and what he's been doing over the last few weeks after the injury, especially. Ohio State looks the part, like they're going to potentially run the table. The fighting Harbaugh is up there in Ann Arbor. Better look out. They haven't been able to conquer that demon yet, and might not again this year. Ohio State looks like they're really hitting their stride, firing on all cylinders, and CJ Stroud is a big part of that.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yep. And Kenny Pickett plays Clemson this week against that defense. So let's see coming out of a bye, see what kind of momentum he can maintain and kind of propel him maybe into the top 3 going forward. Number 3, no change for either of us. Matt Corral, good game last week.
Dude, that mirrored pick, it's so cool. That's so cool. And the powder blues.
For sure. Matt Corral stays the same for us at number 3. And not a shock here, Bryce Young stays here at number 2 for both of us. He's been there for quite a while now, sitting at number 2. Nothing fancy from him, nothing flashy or anything else like that. Good game manager, gets the job done. You're not going to have those, 70, 80-yard touchdown passes unless, someone just breaks coverage and, breaks loose too. So, but a solid number 2 right now for us. And then surprise, number 1, Desmond Ridder, the honorary Tailgate Trash Talk champion so far.
First member of the Hall of Fame, baby.
Yep. And really he's been the only one so far that's really been outspoken this year. So I mean, he has no competition in that aspect. But Desmond Ridder keeps on playing like he is. Cincinnati keeps on winning. He should stay atop our stock report.
I worry a little about the voters, right? This is our stock report, but I worry about the voters.
I've seen in other polls for other people, he's anywhere between 4 and 8.
Yeah, and that's disrespectful as fuck. But I can understand some of the propensity for some of the voters to probably vote other ways because he's not putting up the gaudy numbers that a lot of people.
And he doesn't play in a conference like Bryce Young, Matt Corral,
right?
Some of those other guys, and now you put what's his name from Oklahoma, 1.5 games
Caleb
in,
Williams,
and he's
already in the top 5.
I think he's almost higher than Ridder in some places, but no respect.
No respect. And
No.
he defers a lot too, right? They've got a really good running game, and old boy scored 3, I think, or maybe 4 touchdowns last week. And I was worried watching that game that those stats are going to start to chew away at Desmond Ritter's stats. And potentially at the end of the season, the voters who probably haven't watched a lot of Cincinnati's games are probably just going to look at stats and be like, well, that's not our guy. And that's unfortunate. It's unfair, but it's how the voters do. I bitch about voting for fucking every award. Like these goddamn writers, I don't know what it is, but they piss me off all the damn time. I'm still bitter about fucking Mariano Rivera being a unanimous Hall of Famer. Like he was the first over Griffey. Come on, you fucking twats. I don't know. I get mad at voters.
And then you had Jeter this year. Had
Come on.
One vote from unanimous.
He ain't even a fucking first ballot guy. How the fuck was he one vote away from being unanimous? Jesus Christ. If he plays anywhere but New York, he's fucking Walt Weiss. Anybody know who Walt Weiss is?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Colorado Rockies.
Exactly. Only avid baseball fans know who fucking Walt Weiss is.
Oh. All right, moving on. Next part of the show, we're calling it the Lucky 7, and it's the Lucky 7 because these are our top 7 picks to replace Ed Orgeron down in the bayou of LSU.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Go Tigers. Lucky number 7. So this is what Mr. Gary Freeze and myself have put together. They consist of Brian Kelly of Notre Dame, Joe Brady of the Carolina Panthers, Lane Kiffin of Ole Miss, Bo Pelini of unemployed right now.
Yep.
Jimbo Fisher of A&M, Urban Meyer of From Behind Jaguars, and Mario Cristobal of the Oregon Ducks. And so just briefly here, we'll touch base on why and who, why not. We think some of these coaches will fit LSU's coaching vacancy. I'll start with the one that everyone has been talking about, and that was Jimbo Fisher right off the bat. Okay. He's got a relationship with Scott Woodward over there, the athletic director at LSU. He was hired by Scott at A&M. He's turned that program around. But the problem here is the money. He's guaranteed X amount of dollars at A&M right now. So the only buyout. Yeah, big buyout. So the only thing that LSU can really offer Jimbo Fisher to get him there is offer him basically the same compensation of guaranteed money. And that's a big buyout right there. Not going to, truthfully, if that happens, there's a ton of money down there at LSU.
Oh, yeah.
That's changing hands.
Oh, yeah.
So Jimbo Fisher at number 7 for me, not likely going to happen.
Yeah, I think I agree with you that I think he's the least like Matt Nagy. That'd be fun.
That would be.
That'd be fun. Coach Klein.
Coach Klein.
Mr. Coach Klein. Mr. Coach Klein. Yeah, I think I'm with you that Jimbo's probably the least likely in my opinion. I weighed him against Cristobal a little bit because I think Cristobal's pretty comfortable there in Oregon. Mm-hmm. But I've got Jimbo as the least likely as well. And I think it's the money. 2, it's the buyout. And you know, I think Jimbo likes it there in A&M too. But yeah, you mentioned the money, like Texas booster money, like other schools boosters owe Texas boosters money. Like that Texas booster money, they got oil. You ain't competing with that fucking oil money.
Yeah.
You ain't doing it. especially in College Station. Like it ain't fucking happening. So
Yeah.
Jimbo's paid healthily. I think he likes it there in A&M. Jimbo is, I mean, they had linked him to UT for a while too. I think
Yeah.
Jimbo's always had his eye on the state of
The
Texas.
state of Texas.
So I
Yeah.
think as close as Baton Rouge is to the state of Texas, it's still not Texas. So for that reason, no. But I agree with you. The reasons for, right? He obviously fits, right? He's a successful head coach, and that relationship he's got with Woodard. But
Yeah.
it's, in my opinion, not likely.
Yep.
It's the least likely of these.
Least likely. Yeah, sure. All right, real quick, 27-27, end of third. Come on, Shanties, let's go. All right, Gary, you take number 6 here.
All right, my next least likely is Brian Kelly. I know I mentioned crystal ball a minute ago, but for me, I think Notre Dame loves Brian Kelly. I think they're fully invested, and
No, Corey. No.
I don't see Brian Kelly being let out the door there in Notre Dame. I think the merit for him to get the job, though, is that he's got experience in a high pressure program, which is what LSU is. He's got experience cultivating, men, NFL players, those sorts of things. So I see the merits. I see the reason they would want to go after him. But I just think that Notre Dame's going to sink them claws in, and they're going to hold tight to Brian Kelly.
That was an interesting one, because on my list, Brian Kelly is higher up there, and just for this reason, I think he's maxed out at Notre Dame as far as recruiting goes, and he's hit the ceiling there in Notre Dame in South Bend.
I think that's a very fair point.
You've
been there almost 10 years now, right?
Yeah,
9 years, 8 years,
and you're the winningest coach in Notre Dame history. You pass Newt Rockne, legend there. You don't have any titles.
Yeah.
You made the playoffs a couple times, yeah.
They got boat raced.
But I think he's just hit that ceiling. I think he's handcuffed in who he can bring in, obviously with the academic standards and everything else that goes there.
Ain't got many of them in Louisiana.
No. And so that's why I think, for me anyways, Brian Kelly is higher up on my list, just for that. And you can go down to LSU, SEC, you have a wider range of recruiting there to where you can get, some good players and compete just like you are right now with Notre Dame, but at a higher competitiveness, I guess.
Yeah, and you're selling me, like in real time. You're selling me. I think you make great points, man. Like, make it rain. But you're selling me a bit, and now I'm starting to think maybe Brian Kelly's a better option than I gave him credit for.
Nah, I mean, that's the fun thing about this is you have your list, I have my list, and we're just kind of spitballing back and forth on it. But we're it's always nice to have two different perspectives and everything. So, all right, so Brian Kelly is number 6 on your list. All right. Next one for me would be Urban Meyer. Just for the fact that he's with the NFL right now, which I don't think he's going to make it past year 1 of the NFL. And let's be honest. Yes, he wins wherever he goes, except for the NFL.
Yeah.
But he brings so much more noise, background noise, baggage to wherever he goes. You saw it in Florida. You saw it at Ohio State. His health. The mental health, or
he suddenly gets real heart palpitations every time a scandal crops up.
Yeah. So
I literally named my fantasy football team Herb's Next Scandal too.
Nice.
Fuck that guy.
Brian DeBall.
Yeah, I think he's gonna get an NFL head coaching job probably in the next year or two. I know he didn't really want one this past offseason, but he's gonna get an NFL head coaching job soon.
Oh. All right, you take the next one.
Yeah, this is where I slotted Cristobal in, and here I was between him and not to give away number 4, but I figure I'm next up anyway, so I'll just give it away. I was tossed up between him and Herb on this, and I slotted Cristobal at 5 for similar reasons that I thought about with Brian Kelly. I think Cristobal is still on the upward trajectory, though, right? You mentioned that Brian Kelly's kind of hit that ceiling. I think that's a great point. I think Cristobal is building a program there in Oregon. They've got money, so money's not an issue. They've got all the Nike
They
sponsorship
definitely
and
have
all
money.
that. Yeah. So
if that's one school that could buy out Jimbo Fisher, that would be it.
Yeah, for sure. Paul Knight, Mr. Knight up there is gonna foot the bill. Get Jimbo Fisher.
Hey.
There's oil money and then there's sneaker money. But yeah, so for that reason, Cristobal is building a program. He's on an upward trajectory. I think he's fitting in perfectly there. So I think timing is what turns me off of Cristobal as an option with LSU. I just think if this was a couple years down the road and Oregon had made the playoffs once and he was starting to reach that peak and maybe there wasn't much room left for growth, a move to the SEC would make sense. But I'm slotting him at 5. And I guess we can shift to number 4 since I already gave it away. Urban Meyer's at 4 for me. I think he's going back to college, and I think LSU makes some sense, but I'm still leaning USC. I think they haven't really put the pressure on the head coaching search yet because they're waiting for Urban Meyer. Honestly, I fully feel USC is waiting for Urban Meyer, and I think that's where he ends up. So slotting him at number 4, although if USC goes and hires a coach, LSU suddenly starts to move up the totem pole for me for Urban Meyer.
Okay. All righty. Next one for me would be Mr. Bo Pelini.
I thought you'd have him higher, honestly.
No, and here's my reason why he's on my list and why he's lower on my list. The reason why he's on my list, he was part of the national championship when they won it in 07 as the defensive coordinator. Their defense was lights out.
Unreal.
That year. He's been a head coach in college ranks with Nebraska from 2009 to 2015, 14, 15, somewhere around there. Yeah. Won consistently, got blown out though in some big time games. Never really got over that hump of winning the big game. You made the move from Big 12 to Big 10 while you were there. And then after Nebraska, you went to Youngstown.
Yeah.
And then last year, Ed hired you on, which reports are that he really didn't interview Pelini or anything else like that for the defensive coordinator position. So you come back to LSU as a D coordinator last year, and you pretty much just got ran over and passed through last year. Now, granted, it was COVID year. You had players opting out, and you come to a team that is basically rebuilding. You had so many players off that Natty team that left for the NFL that opted out. Jamar Chase opted out. So. But the reason why I don't think Pelini gets back into coaching, he does not like the NIL. I think that is one big part that he does not like, does not care for, and I really don't know if he would be able to navigate around that.
All the distractions,
going out with all the endorsements that the kids are doing and everything else. So that's why he's on my list, but why he's low on my list.
Yeah, I have him a little higher throughout the week the weekend after you suggested him a little earlier, and then we talked about having this list. I think I talked myself into it as
Yeah.
as the time passed.
Yeah. And, if reports are true on, the players, Ed lost the players, there's no discipline and everything, then yes, Pelini would be a great fit because he is a disciplinarian. He is. He's not afraid to tell you how it is. And you heard it from, his players when he was at Nebraska. You know, he rubs people the wrong way, but that's just who he is. And his players respond to that.
Yeah.
His players played for him. They loved him. When there was talk about him getting fired the year before he was fired, his players went to bat for him. And they said that he's a great coach. You don't know what goes on, on that field during the week and everything else. So he definitely garners their respect in that aspect. So if that's what they're looking for, then yeah, he'd move atop that list for sure.
For sure.
Who you got next there, big guy?
This is where I have Pelini. So
Okay.
number 3, I've got Bo Pelini here. I talked myself into him. Like I said, I just kept racking and stacking and looking this list over, and I just kept like, I think Pelini's a little more likely than this guy, and I just ended up with him at number 3. For a lot of the same reasons you said, right? He very well respected, very well appreciated by his players when he was at Nebraska. He was on the national championship team with LSU in 2007. I just think there's some logical connections that make sense, especially in light of what has kind of forced LSU's hand with Ed Orgeron. I think they need somebody who's going to bring the opposite of what they've had there. And I think Bo Pelini brings a lot of that to the table. Now, with the NIL thing, I obviously considered that, and I think that, maybe he really doesn't have, especially as a head coach, maybe as a defensive coordinator, but maybe that should move him farther down my list, but it didn't. So I've got him here at 3.
Yeah.
soft little Ed.
Yep.
Get off my lawn.
I think number 2 is going to be unanimous for both of us here. And that would be Mr. Lane Kiffin. I was literally just thinking about this while we've been talking about it, and there's talk of him going, being on the list and everything, but it almost makes me wonder. You just got to Ole Miss. Where were you at that before? FAU. Where were you at before? Alabama.
Offensive coordinator for Alabama.
Where were you at before?
Yeah.
USC. Where were you at before? Tennessee. He hasn't
quite a bit.
Yes, he hasn't stayed around. Yeah. And so what, you're here, this is year 2, year 3 for you here at Ole Miss. Do you want that at LSU? He's my number 2 too, but literally as we've been talking and, kind of swaying away from, hey, maybe they shouldn't be on our list now, or maybe we should move them further on down. That got into my head, and I'm just thinking, do you want to go after a coach that, comes with baggage there too? And you don't know if, say whoever, Texas comes calling or Alabama comes calling, or, one of those schools, you kind of run that risk unless you put a big buyout on or, whatever. But he's number 2 for me, but I'm kind of talking myself back from it now. Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly thought this might be where you had Bo Pelini. When you suggested it, it made sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got Lane Kiffin here, and I know there are the concerns, right? He's never really planted roots. I think that's for a number of reasons. When he was at Tennessee, USC came calling, they rolled out the private jet and all that fun stuff, and that stuff. When you're young too, you got to remember Lane Kiffin was fucking 12 when
Yeah.
he was the head coach at Tennessee and at
And
USC.
going to
Uh,
Hollywood.
and the head coach of the Raiders and shit, right? Like that dude was a fucking teenager coaching
Yeah.
an NFL team. So he was young. He made some
That's
mistakes. I think he grew up a lot.
that's why you saw him have a field goal kicker go out there and kick like a 70-yarder.
Like, yeah, let's just try this shit.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I think he grew up a lot at Bama, and I think FAU was humbling for him. And Ole Miss has been a good stepping stone for him. I think he's shown now that he can run a big-time program. And I honestly think that it's possible that the same reasons that you were talking yourself down from Kiffin, that the AD at LSU, Mr. Woodard there, might potentially talk himself into it.
Yeah.
Because you can sort of, I sort of equate his track record to like somebody who's got like I jumped around a lot when I left the Navy because I didn't know where I was going. Right. The Navy tells you what to do for 10 years. It told me what to do, where to be, when to be there, what uniform to be in, all that shit. And for the first few years after I got out, I was just like, I was kind of rudderless and changed jobs quite a bit. Right. So my resume is pockmarked with a few different jobs. You can sort of explain that stuff, right? Like I was young or I was new. I was fresh out of the Navy. I didn't know what civilian life was like. For Lane Kiffin, it's like, I'm new to this head coaching stuff. USC came and schmoozed me. The NFL, they came and rolled out the red carpet, and who's going to turn down an NFL head coaching job, right? So those sorts of things, I think you can explain away, and you start to look at his last handful of years with working with Saban, winning a national title. They might have won 2 together, but he played, he grew up a lot there, went to FAU, built that program into something of a contender as a non-Power 5 school. They were pretty good. And then now at Ole Miss, he's shown he can handle a big time program. Maybe that's something that sways the LSU powers that be potentially. So that's, I sort of kind of started to stack things up in his favor when I was considering Lane Kiffin. Plus, it'd be fucking fun to see that. LSU, Saban's old fucking stomping ground, facing Bama. It's great watching him at Ole Miss against Bama, but I think it'd be even cooler to see LSU. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and Corey Yeoman kind of hit it on the head here with, if they do make that switch and he does jump, that's going to be a hot seat. Jumping from one team to the other in the same conference. So
you don't get a long leash there at LSU.
Nope, sure don't. So that brings us to our number one person, Mr. Joe Brady of the Carolina Panthers.
The Brady Bunch.
And I know my reasonings behind it, but let's hear yours.
Yeah, I think some of the reasonings are obvious, right? He basically turned that entire program around when Coach O brought him in. Him and Burrow were so good together. They won that national title really because of that offense. Set so many fucking records. Historical season. Joe Burrow had the greatest college season in fucking history, man. They put 3 wide receivers now in the NFL in early rounds. Maybe. Fuck you, Corey. Stop stealing my thunder, you asshole. Stop making sense, fucker. But I'd love to see Joe Brady come back to Baton Rouge though and lead that team as the head coach. I think he's a great fit. I think he's a great mind, and I think he's a great players coach. And I think that was the reason why he got so much out of that offense that year, on top of the talent that they had, obviously. But man, I would love it. I can't find a hole. Like with all these other coaches, I was able to find a hole or several holes in why they wouldn't make sense at LSU. I've got 0 for Joe Brady.
Yeah. No, and you kind of took all my talking points on it. So, the NFL experience, he's in year 2 right now with Matt Rule over there in Carolina. You said it, he turned that LSU offense around. They broke numerous records offensively while he was there. Bring him back, and plus, a college or I'm sorry, an NFL coach coming back to college ranks. It's a good recruiting tool too. Hey, look, this is what I did with Joe Burrow. This is what happened with Jamar Chase. You know, on this team, these guys went to the NFL. Like, he has that coaching experience too. You know, just learn from the NFL experience and bring it to college. And it's a great recruiting tool as well. So yeah, that's my pick as well. So, real quick before we go to another sponsor break, before we started the podcast tonight, I did see that this name has been floating around there, but not for this job, but for the USC job. But now it's getting floated around there for the LSU job. Mr. James Franklin of Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
Could be quite the distraction for him and for the Nittany Lions as the season progresses.
Could be.
So definitely be interesting, both for LSU and USC to see where they land with their next head coach.
For sure.
So, all right, take a quick sponsor break, and then we'll wrap it up with our top plays and Tailgating 101. Next break is brought to you by XL Construction. Ryan Trotnick, XL Construction, out of Overland Park, Kansas. XL Construction. All right, that little 30-second commercial break was brought to you by XL Constructions out of Overland Park, Kansas. Corey Yeoman, Joe Brady is going to go from Ja Rule to a 70-year-old bowl cut. Wow.
Wow. Dude, Mark Davis has, I don't understand how he continues to go to his barber and be like, you know what, fam? Just trim it.
Nope. No idea.
Fuck out of here.
No
How do you
idea.
have that haircut to begin with and then keep it?
No idea. No idea.
He looks like the
He just
scene,
looks stupid.
The scene from Silence of the Lambs when fucking Hannibal Lecter is wearing that dude's face. That's what Mark Davis fucking looks like, man. And then that bowl cut just sets it off.
Real quick before we get to our top plays from last week, Appalachian State first and goal, 27-27 with just under 7 minutes left to play here in the fourth. So we'll try to wrap up here real quick so we can all catch that ending here. Come on, Shantz. Come on. All right, top plays. Here we go.
One more chance to win the game. Rashawn McKay brings a man in motion, hands it off the bonnet. Scott Burns, 25-30.
Uh-oh.
What are we doing here? Why is
technical difficulties?
Shit's been like acting up here tonight. Like we've been freezing a little bit. Like what's going on? See, like right now we're froze. Like what is going on here?
Uh-oh.
There we go. There we go. All right, here we go.
Like it.
Let's do this. Top plays.
Chance to win the game. Rashawn McKay brings a man in motion, hands it off the bonnet. Scott Burns, 25-30, 35-40. He could go all the way. 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, 4, 3 to the end zone. Bonnet from 80. Oh. That's how you answer right there. But I guess what I said.
Florida A&M coming back to win.
Trips to the left. Willis on 2nd and 16. Four-man rush. Goes deep. It's overthrown. It's intercepted. Picked off by Mark Williams. And ULM gets the third interception of Willis tonight. And they are a a couple kneel downs away from a huge upset at the Lone Stadium tonight. The Warhawks, over 30-point underdogs at home, are going to find a way to beat the Liberty Flames tonight.
Sweet one-handed catch here.
Burmeister to throw
Look at that.
I was going to say, I can't believe it wasn't a flag, too. That's a hell of a catch.
For the touchdown with a flag
What a
in.
catch.
Looked like one hand that he reels it in with.
Yeah, he had no
Heck of a
choice.
catch. A.J. Woods, the other corners working against Robinson.
What a catch.
Just one hand.
Got to go to the end zone.
I'm calm down.
Three defenders back
Here we
towards
go.
the goal
Gale
line.
for their chance to win.
Cruz extending it, launching it. Can someone latch onto it?
Got him.
UConn
It's over.
finally wins
The
it all
drought
game.
for UConn.
Been 47
History.
years.
Los Banos and the Huskies have a win. But what an epic sweat.
UConn finally get a W this
Finally.
season. Finally.
47 years.
Oh,
Crazy.
Corey, I think Mark Davis is Gruden's dad, and he never made child support. Had to make up for it somehow.
So Malik Willis is another guy that was really intriguing for a while this year. A little bit of Heisman hype about halfway through the season. That's obviously going to completely dissipate after the loss to ULM. But he's a guy that's going to be on NFL coach radars and GM radars because he is fucking unbelievably athletic. He's a guy that's going to remind people of Lamar Jackson. He's not quite that level of elusive, but you know, if a coach feels like they can fix his throwing mechanics and get him to be a more accurate passer, that's a guy that could be quite dynamic at the next level.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, like you said, he was kind of that behind the scenes person, you know, middle throughout the season. Then, yeah, that loss just kind of decimates all that.
Yeah,
Especially at 30-point underdogs. Man,
my God.
that's why we love college football.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, last segment of the evening, and we'll wrap it up. Tailgate like a champion. So this week, you know, the first episode that we did with the Tailgate champion, we talked about what are our necessities. And I think we did like 4 or 5 necessities that we needed to bring. Last week was a good playlist, and Gary and I, we talked right after the show, and I was just like, we need to make our own playlist, you know, show everyone, and then you guys bring your playlist to the table. So we'll do that later on. But for this week, we kind of have a checklist, you know, that I think everyone should have before you go out for your tailgate. You know, that way you have everything prepared, everything's checked off. That way you're not forgetting anything and having to improvise as you get there. So with that being said, this is your game day tailgating checklist. For eating and drinking, obviously your portable grill, a propane or charcoal. You need a lighter, obviously. You need some grilling utensils, disposable tableware, paper towels, plastic cups, food to grill. Obviously, that's like essential to a tailgate. Condiments, apps, sides. You know, if you're partying with people, make sure they're bringing some of this stuff too. That way it's not all on you. So, you know, you can put names off to the side on who's bringing what. Coolers full of drinks, adult beverages, ice, bottle opener. Now, here's... Some people like drinking out of bottles. Me personally, at a tailgate, get that shit out of here. You don't need glass. Just throw away the aluminum can. Exactly. So leave your bottle openers and your bottles at the house. You know, keep that stuff for your household, for your back patio drinking. Koozies. Obviously, you need koozies. And if you need a koozie, come to Backyard Sports Media.shop and get all your merchandise, apparel, hats, T-shirts, hoodies. It's fall weather, so you need all that stuff. Trash bags obviously is a must. That way you can put all your trash in and dispose of it properly. No one likes a messy tailgate. Hand sanitizer, obviously now in COVID times, you need that hand sanitizer. For the game, sunglasses, jersey, spirit wear, blah, 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 or just, proper attire.
Paint your chest.
Paint your chest, exactly. Yep, proper colors too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For hanging out at the tailgate, a pop-up tent, sure. Shade, if it's raining, shelter, lawn chairs, a must, like absolute must. Comfy lawn chairs too. You can't get the little rinkety-dink ones where, your body doesn't fit in them. You need one with a cup holder though too. That would be essential. Folding tables, portable fan, sunscreen. Sure. For fun, speakers, cornhole boards, football, frisbee.
Yep.
You got to have it all. You got to have it. You got to have your speakers. You got to have it goes back to last week's playlist. Like, you got to be rocking out at your tailgate. Not too loud, but not too soft either. People got to know you're partying.
Oh, yeah.
And then obviously for rainy and chilly day, extra clothes, rain jacket, gloves, hat, and sweatshirt. And again, we have most of that stuff at backyardsportsmedia.shop for all your apparel needs. And it's free shipping on orders over $99. So go check it out. We just opened it up last night. So go check it out. See what you want. Let's get it done. Go get your tailgate stuff. So the checklist, it's a great tool for newbie tailgaters. If you've been tailgating long enough,
you got the process down. You have everything where it needs to be in your garage or your storage shed to where you don't need a tailgate checklist. Right.
But for you noobs out there, you need this. This is kind of like your Bible for tailgating right there.
Yep, absolutely. The Tailgater's Handbook.
Can we talk Kayvon Thibodeau?
Yeah, we sure fucking can.
Sure.
Dude's a fucking monster, man. I know recent mock drafts have him going number one.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, yeah. I have not seen that then.
Yeah. I think the logical comparison is to Garrett, not Young, like Myles Garrett, not Chase Young. Chase Young's a little kind of more stocky, more stout, a little more powerful pass rusher. I think Kayvon Thibodeau fits the mold of Myles Garrett. Use that athleticism, still a pretty powerful guy, but use that athleticism, that speed, that bend around the corner to be able to rush the passer. So I think that him going number one is going to depend on who it is. I saw a mock draft that had the Lions going, are taking him at number one. I think if the Lions have the number one pick next year, it's going to be a quarterback. And I hope for their sake, somebody puts themselves in position to be successful as that number one pick, because for Andy's sake, especially as a fan, if they're reaching on a quarterback at number one, it could spell doom, for a good bit. But yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau has all of the tools and he's a hell of a leader too. The week that he was out with, injured, he was fucking rah-rah on the sidelines, dapping up his teammates and, really
getting into it.
Showing that absolutely. Really showing that he's mature. He wasn't down in the dumps because he couldn't play.
Yep.
Really was supportive of his teammates, which goes a long way. On top of all of that supreme athleticism that he has, I wouldn't be surprised if he went number one, honestly, especially with the quarterback crop that we're going to have. I think years where like a guy like Mario Williams or a guy like Myles Garrett goes number one, it does have a lot to do with the fact that there aren't quarterbacks that really move themselves into that head and shoulders above the crowd sort of place that we see guys like Trevor Lawrence and Andrew Luck and some of the others that were just unanimous number ones. So yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau, stud for sure. Somebody's getting a gem there.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, Appalachian State fumbled it. Coastal Carolina Shanties recovered. They're driving right now with just under 5 minutes left to play.
Awesome.
Ooh, Jared Allen motor with Isaiah Simmons talent. I like the Jared Allen motor respect.
Yeah, I think that's
even though he played for the Vikings, I hated him since he played for the
He went to the Chiefs eventually.
He did. And this doesn't go against you, Gary. My dad and my sister are big Viking fans.
Yeah.
So that's where the hatred comes from.
Nice.
But you just add to it. But yeah, I mean, when Jared Allen and the Vikings played the Cowboys, man, always scared when we had to play him because Jared Allen was definitely a beast.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's good because Isaiah Simmons is certainly like one of those just Swiss Army knife athletic guys. I think that's a pretty good comparison. Honestly, he's a bit bigger than Simmons, not quite as like stocky build like Jared Allen, but that motor, that's something you can't coach either, right? Like you either have that motor or you're bitching at a guy because he doesn't have that motor. But yeah, no, I think that's a good comparison for sure.
For sure. All righty. Well, thank you, Corey, for joining us in and commenting along throughout the show. It was another great week, another great episode of Tailgate Trash Talking, and we got a good game going on right now with under 5 minutes left to play. So we'll adjourn here for the evening. Let's go Shanties. Again, backyardsportsmedia.shop for all your merchandise needs. You can check out all the Tailgate apparel and the backyard sports apparel as well right there. So check it out. Go get your merch. If you don't see anything, let us know. We'll see if we can get it on there for you. So with that being said, Gary, thank you, sir, for another great episode. Appreciate it, good sir.
My pleasure.
Tune in next Wednesday, 9 p.m. for another great trash talking episode. We'll see you guys next week, and go watch some college football this week. Peace out.